Hi everybody, my name is Fabio Redivo and I'm the creator behind Pixels Royale. In this video, I'm going to talk about where the idea came from. I got some requests, which was pretty surprising in the couple days of the campaign being out there with little to minimal promotion of asking for me to, tell the people and the backers and whoever is interested where the idea came from, and we'll do just that. So the idea for Pixels Royale really came from the combination of a few things. The biggest one, it's what we're calling here at home my retro midlife crisis. I started playing old games again, and I really spent some time finding the right console, the right controllers, the right library of games. Just really reliving childhood. I even went and got a tube TV from Facebook Marketplace, like a giant 36-inch tube TV, 42 actually, tube TV that is sitting on the garage. I might show a picture of that. So just, playing those games, and I always just loved that look of the 16-bit artwork from those games. I was always one of those guys who I never played Street Fighter 3D. I always liked the look of the pixel art. So that was really in the back of my mind, this whole retro journey. We just bought a record player. I mean, it's just, all those those ideas of a more simple times, I guess, when I was a kid. I think it really came from seeing my kids. I have a 3-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy, and it's just seeing how they discover the world. It's just so simple. You can give them a box and they will play with it, especially nowadays in such an era of tons of information. So I was being very nostalgic, I guess. And pixel art was something that always fascinated me, and I wanted to give it a shot. I haven't been drawing much for a while. I have a big role as a graphic designer in a big name company in New York. So it was just, designing, and I love doing it, but that part of drawing was missing. So it kind of like merged the two things. Like, I kind of want to do this for myself on the side and see how it goes. So I started doing pixel art, and at first I had no idea what I was doing. I just looked some people, and I started to following some really cool artists. I didn't know about the resolution and how the grids, and even where to do. Do you do on Photoshop or Illustrator, or how do you start? So I came across this tutorial of how to make a pixel grid on Illustrator, and I thought it was really cool. I love how sharp vectors are, and it was kind of a perfect tool for me to use. I know a lot of people have their own softwares. There's Pixeldin, I think it's called, on iPad, which I use and I like it, but the finished product is on Illustrator, and I might even do a video of how I do the pixel art. So when I started doing those illustrations, I started very low res, just little blocks with eyes. I think the very first picture that I even was happy enough to post was a Marc Maron. I just saw his stand up on Instagram and got inspired, and from there I started doing a little bit more, but it just felt not enough in the sense of detail. That's when then the artist in me is like, this is just not enough. I'm not there, right? I have a tremendous respect for people who do that, and it looks awesome, but I need to kind of hear my voice. So I start umping my pixel grid. I think I got to maybe 75, and I drew a Iron Ghost, which is a character from a comic book from Epix, comic book we launched with a few friends. It's Fernando Ruiz character, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Then I drew a friend of mine, Dennis, from work, who's also very involved at Pixels Royale. And then I looked, I was like, man, this is not it. So I went back and I made the 100 pixel grid, and I redrew Iron Ghost. And I was like, wow, I can do so much more. And there's so much more details I can add here. And I was really happy. So the 100 pixel grid was my grid for a while. Then from there, I saw this guy who does pixel art, and he outlines the drawings with black. And I thought that was really cool too. So I started doing that. So then when I started doing the black outline, I was pretty happy with it. At the time, I think I was doing a lot of characters from comic book, like old comic books. I was getting into that again, this whole retro thing. And then it was October, and that was the Blocktober, which is kind of like the Inktober version of pixel art. And the theme was Halloween or horror or whatever. And I was thinking about that. I wanted to give a little twist. So I did that horror with in swimsuit, like a swimsuit edition. It was always hilarious to see those comics in the 90s coming out. X-Men swimsuit edition, Superman swimsuit edition, whatever it was, Image swimsuit edition. That I thought would be funny to have, like a vampire on a Speedo looking at himself, and all he can see is the Speedo. I think that's when I started realizing that 100 pixel wasn't enough, so I up again to 150. And when I did that, again, it was pretty cool. I could do a lot more details. And I thought that was it. I thought that was my sweet spot. So as I was doing the Blocktober, and with this whole retro revolution, I remember this one game I used to play as a kid, like third grade, maybe, even less. We could read. It's called Super Trunfo. It's a game that we had in Brazil. I don't know if we still have, to be honest, if anybody knows. But all it was like these cards with pictures of cars and the stats of the cars, like horsepower or max speed, whatever it was. So what we used to do was just split the deck in half or in three. Never play more than 3 guys. And you have your little deck, and whoever started would read a stat. And if your stats were bigger, you take a card, and if it was lower, you give your card and put it on your deck, and it kept circling, and it was a never-ending game, but it was just fun as kids to play that. And I was thinking about that, and somehow like the two things connected, and I could do pixel art and create a card game that you can battle, like Super Trunfo. And this was really the birth idea of Pixels Royale. The thing was that it was a little too simple, and from there everything started to evolve. Not just the idea of how to make these cards, but the gameplay itself. Every time I brought the idea to somebody, there was always a little tweak of the rules, there was always a little addition, and we realized that in the end, these are just really cool cards because of the nature of the illustration with stats. And even though we have an official way to play, it might be really cool to encourage whoever's playing to come up with their tweaks, to make more fun for themselves, for the group of friends, for whatever reason it is. So the rules are not really set in stone per se. But we came up with a set of rules, almost like the optimized version of all the suggestions when we were playing this and testing. And we go through the rules in another video. But then the last piece of the puzzle was, man, it would be really cool if we could be in the game. And that was like, oh yeah. So the idea of giving the people who can back the game a chance to send a picture, and I will draw that picture in my style of pixel art, and we'll turn that into the playable card of the game. So it's not something you have for yourself. It will be something on the game. So whoever is playing will pull that card, and we're like, oh man, who's this Dave? And win a round or lose a round, and then pick another card. It's like, who's John or who's Mary or Why is there, a cat? Like, it would be so cool to be custom made by whoever is interested in the game. It would just make so much more fun to create and random and dynamic for people playing, because again, you can be a guy battling a cactus or a dog battling a car, and that car is somebody's car and that dog is somebody's dog. So that was really the idea of customizing every single card on the game, that we thought, man, it would be really, really cool. So from there, we just really worked to get that done. So getting more comfortable doing pixel art, I ended up upping again my grid to a 200 pixel grid, mostly to get people's details in their faces. Because I really want, if you back the card and you become a card, so you send me that picture, I want to really translate that picture into you, so you can actually see, and people who know you will be like, oh my god, it's you. And people who don't know it, like, this dude looks pretty cool. So we upped to 200. I ended up doing a few tests to 250, even to 300, but I felt like everything over 200 on the size of the card, it just looks like a bad JPEG of an illustration. It didn't look like intentional pixel art. So 200 is our final stop on the grid. So this is really what was in my head when creating Pixels Royale, was to create a fast-paced, fun game with cool, colorful, interesting cards, and give the users or whoever comes to back the project a chance to be part of the game and share that with their friends. And as we kind of joke around, and live forever, maybe we would have ideas to have this game everywhere in the world. So everywhere in the world, a person can be playing with you as a card, or you and your dog as a card. And imagine 15 years from now, if you have a card with your kid, like, oh my god, well now, my kid is so big, and this was a card made when he was just, whatever, 5 or 6. That's why we open up for anything and everything that people can think of to become cards. We will draw them and we will add to the game. So the last 2 ideas we had for Pixels Royale was, first, the modifier cards. The modifier cards bring a balance to the gameplay, and we're gonna go definitely cover that in depth in another video. But if you lose 3 rounds, you can pick one of those cards and it helps you attack and defend. I remember playing Super Trunfo, and that happened too, where whoever starts the game, it was very hard to get them out. So the modifier cards are fun little challenges. You just need to meow like a cat, or make some sounds or sing a song to kind of unlock the power of the card. But it's kind of fun and quick, and it really helps with the strategy of the game. And the other idea is the QR code that every playable card has. It's kind of cool. It breaks that just you and the cards with your friends idea. It also can turn the tables and be a very fun addition to the gameplay, which again we'll cover in another video. But you scan the card, you're gonna get some kind of a challenge on your phone. It's gonna show you what the special power of that card is, and you have to do a little challenge to either win or lose the round. Every card will have their own QR code, its own special power, and it's just a fun addition to the whole gameplay. We were very happy and proud of thinking of that and how to really optimize the use of a QR code. So that's it. I know I talk a lot, even though I hate filming myself. When I start talking about my ideas in my game and all this, it's really fun. We're gonna do this again throughout the week. We're gonna have videos about the specific cards, how to play the game, how this QR code works, all the styles of modifiers, just talking about the campaign. We're gonna have a video log. I'm gonna start this video log every day to talk about the journey from today to the end of the campaign, successful or not. I just want to really record all the things we're learning. As I said there in our video log, this is our first game. It's the first time we're doing this. It's the first time I'm kind of like putting myself out there in this fashion, to create games and to kind of tap in the water of this giant industry that the more I discover, the more I'm fascinated about. So check out our log, look at our campaign. If you take a picture of our campaign today and you look on next Monday, you see there will be so many things we're going to streamline and change and making it easier for understand and making fun. We're going to have the rules downloadable. I'm going to send our dummy deck to a lot of different people. So there's a lot happening the next week or two for us to really streamline this campaign and try to reach as many people as possible. So just keep an eye on it. It will be pretty cool. So really cool here looking through the old cards, that when I started the design, you can see here. So this is like a very early prototype of the Iron Ghost card I was talking about. I'll put a better picture on editing. And this is my buddy Dennis. Like, look at that, huh? So it's really cool to see. We're gonna be giving those away for higher backers and for people who back. They get into this. We'll draw a name to give like cool artwork and prototype cards from the beginning of the game. This is the Iron Ghost of 100 pixels. This is when like the whole, it was kind of cool. So yeah, I'll be showing this also more. Look at this Fernando card, man. And you can see like the stats were different and the color, and we're trying to put the QR code here. Like it's cool to look back and see, so much work goes into this. Wow.